few, or one or two is all you need. Maybe this is enough of a turn. This is about as closed as you want to get. You can't get much detail. And then I'm going to take him up here as he climbs up the rock. So I'm dealing with that mass, the pelvis. Okay. And get him here looking out, maybe, huh? There's the scapula, humerus, ulna radial. Okay. Now coming back here for the rear. Okay. Okay, so this is how it looks. Animals on top of the cliff. Comes running down the cliff and turns and rotates in space and goes back up the cliff. Okay. Now from here you can start to tweak things. If you look to check out the flow. For instance, I look over here and I notice that this one bothers me a little bit. I feel like he over-rotated here and then came out of that rotation to go back this way. So from here, I'm going to adjust him. I'm going to bring his neck out a little bit, and I'm going to bring his ear over here with his head. And this way, now he doesn't feel like he's over-rotated the position. Okay, so now what you can do is you go back over your idea and you start actually laying in the important lines, the important parts of the form that make the statement what you're trying to say with this motion study. In other words, you come back, you pick out your strongest ideas, and you develop them. So now I'm going more from the armature now. I'm starting to go into the actual chosen lines and filling out that form. So I'm adjusting. There's the underside of the paw. There's the form of the paw. Okay. And you'll do this with all your frames, all your little gestures here. Now you start to clean them up just a bit. I don't mean by erasing, but really you start to be selective about what lines. Here's the point of the shoulder, okay, where the scapula and humerus meets. That's very important because we get to see what part of the chest is actually rotated towards us and what part of the chest is actually rotated away based on this and at this anatomical juncture right here. We notice the same with the ischiums. The ischium bones of the rear, as the animal walks, these toggle back and forth. The bone distances between each other doesn't change. The bone is solid. It's not going to move around that much, but it's actually the rotation through the pelvis, how he rotates the whole pelvic block, that you're going to see. So here I'm starting to firm up some of the lines again, and you can see as I'm working the form it starts to pick up more dimension. This is not all about outline. Outline flattens and deadens the form, turns it into looking something like a coloring book. And what you're trying to do is develop the whole idea of this thing being a living, breathing structure. And you don't do it by outline. You do it by suggestion of dimension through form. Okay? Now his tail probably should drop down here as I'm looking at it, but I have him kind of moving very quickly. So down here his tail recovers for balance. Down here I have him still kind of lopped out and sort of gangling along, ambling along. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to come over. So this is actually, you know, how you would do it. I'm not going to do every single one of these for the video simply because of the time factor, but I want you to see that we're working with form. You can see here all of my work lines are still shining through, which is very important because it shows the structure, it shows the thought process. Okay, see how the lines are there? So we're just going to come back now and selectively draw out those lines that actually help push the idea. Here's the scapulohumeral juncture where the scapula comes forward and the humerus goes back and down right through here. Okay, you can see that. And then we have the radial and the ulna, and this mass over those bones is the muscle. We got the extensors, okay, the carpals, the metacarpals, the digits, stretching through the tricep. You might see a little latissimus dorsi through here, coming up through the longissimus dorsi and the iliocostalis muscles of the spine. And then we have the pelvic block, okay, and the thigh. This is the this is the paw of the other hand. Okay, this is the right paw, and I might bring out the head just a little bit. It's okay to overlap these ideas. You see, I've got one wrapped in front of the other. As a drawing, as a motion study drawing, this is perfectly great to do this. You know, it's not static. It gives a sense of motion when you do overlap a little bit. Okay. The one thing students have trouble with is the head shape tends to bobble. Students tend to make it too long, too short, and through the drawing it starts to morph and move around too much. So you have to really be careful about that head. Even if you're changing the head's position, try not to get it to morph out too much. You're going to look really strange. Okay. So now we got a foreshortened one here. I'll close up on that. So all you can still see the work lines. I don't obliterate those work lines. I keep the work lines in the drawing. And now we just come up here and become a little more accurate and a little more selective about what we're doing. And as you're looking at the dynamics of what you're doing here, you can see the one before and the one after. And they all have to feel like they're grouped as a family. You can't just take one and make it super dark and one is super light, and you can't have any favoritism. You have to look at this one here to look at that one, to work this one, and you also have to look at what's behind it to fill this one out. So they all have to feel congruent with each other. Okay, so if you look at them too individualized, they start to get goofy. They start to morph too much. Okay, so now in this case, his spine is a little rounder. His rib cage might feel a little more condensed because he's a little more squashed here. He's facing us and he's pushing towards us. So I look at this one's ears below, make sure I'm drawing the same animal. See, they all have to feel like they're related. And I look at that nose when I draw that nose. I gotta feel as though they're related. There's the neck. There's the shoulder. And so this is the front of the chest. And this is the forearm. And it's bent. You can't see the paw, because the paw is even more behind that. See, it's kind of folded in on itself there. This is the leg that's stretched out. It's going to be that right front as it comes down the cliff. Okay. Okay, I'm going to back up here a little bit. Now this foot is not on the ground. He's hiked it up and it's sort of foreshortened underneath him. So we'll see it on the ground in that position here. But right now he's shortened it up and he's lifted it up off the ground.